This video will be a complimentary video to the 104 tutorial of Illustrator. And so to open a new file, you can click on File, New, and this window will pop up. You can change the name of the file, Project 2. Change the amount of artboards. The artboards are basically pages where you will be able to edit your work. You can change the width and the height. Make sure that you have the correct units because you can change the units here. You can change the orientation of your page. And then you can click OK. So right here I have two artboards. So over here you'll see I have two artboards. And you can change the number of artboards. Right now we just want to be working on one. Most of the tools that you'll be using are located here on the left. You can create shapes by using the pen tool. And with the pen tool, what it does, it creates anchor points. And in order to close that shape, make sure that you click on the first anchor point. So now that we have a shape, we can fill it in or change the colors. In order to change the color of the outline of the shape you're using, you click on this one, so the stroke. Let's say it's pink, and you'll see that only the outline will be pink. If you want to change the color of the fill of that shape, you click on this one over here, which is the fill, and you can change the color. As you can see, the outline is pink and the fill is purple. Fill, make sure that you click on the fill and then select none, and that will empty out your fill. You can also hatch in the shapes, and for this you'll click on this little folder that is called Basic Graphic Lines, and here you'll be able to change the different hatch types. And if you go on Swatch Libraries menu, on Patterns, you can find various patterns such as nature patterns. So you can use the cheetah print, alligator print, whichever one is best for you. Now if you do decide to go to the line hatches, which are located in Patterns, Basic Graphics, Basic Graphic Lines, and you want to use this hatch, you click Object on the menu bar, Transform, and from there you can move, rotate, reflect, scale, or shear the object as well as its pattern. So if we click on rotate, you will have the option to transform the object or transform the pattern. If you want to transform both, then you check both, and let's say we change the angle to a 45-degree angle. We can preview that, and that will change the whole object. However, if you only want to change the pattern of the hatching, you deselect Transform Object, and from there you'll see that only the hatches will change direction. You can also scale the pattern. And here as well, it will ask you what you want to transform, if it's the object or only the pattern. And you can scale that to a bigger or a smaller scale. Let's say I want my pattern to be bigger. It will end up like this. If I create another object and I want it to have the same line weight, the same colors, and the same hatching, I can click on that object, click on the eyedropper tool, which is this one right here, and then select the object I want to mimic. And that will automatically change all the settings of my new object to the same settings as my previous objects. Now for Illustrator, just like the other Adobe products, if you click on a shape and want to scale up and down, you can do so, but if you maintain Shift, that object will be scaled proportionally. You can also use clipping masks on Illustrator, and the way that works is that if I want the black to have the same shape as the pink shape, I can drag the object over it, and from there, select both objects, right-click, and click Make Clipping Mask. And from there, you will get the black object in the shape of the pink object. So the object that is below in the shape of the object that is above. With importing images, Illustrator works in the same way as InDesign, where it works with links. And so the image that you import will be recognized by Illustrator with its location. So if you change the location of the image and try to open Illustrator, the image will not appear because it will no longer be linked, and you will have to relink it and find that image, and it will be associated with another location. For example, if I import this image into Illustrator, you will notice if I click on Window, Links, that it's associated with a link. And if I click on it, it tells me where exactly that image is located. And if you ever change the location of that image, you can relink it using this tool, Relink, and where. And from there you can find your image and relink it. Just like Photoshop, Illustrator operates in layers, and for that you can click on this icon. You can move each element to a different layer. For example, if I want to move this element from layer 1 to layer 2, all I have to do is drag the little box onto layer 2. And we can also have sublayers, and for that you can just click here, add new sublayer, and if you want to add a layer, you can click here, new layer, or delete a layer. You can use, just like InDesign, you can use grids and guides, and for that you can click on Illustrator, Preference, Guides and Grids. You can change the size of the grid here, so if you want a grid line every 1 inch, every 2 inches, and how many subdivisions in each of those. Just like InDesign, you can drag it from the ruler and place your guidelines. You can click on View and Show Grid. And from there you'll have your grid and your subdivisions. If you want to use a specific palette, you can click on Color Guides, and from there you have many palettes to choose from. So you can keep it consistent in your design. You can also edit the color guides by clicking on Edit Color. And changing these colors. That creates a new palette for you to use and the different gradients of these colors. For example, if I'm trying to have these go from darker to lighter pink, I could use my color guide. And the same goes for the swatches. If you want to add a color to your swatch, you can click on New Swatch, change your color. These numbers will define a specific color, so you will always want to keep in mind the numbers that are there if you're using the same color over and over again. So say I create this color that I want to use, I can add it to my swatch and it will be right there whenever I need to use it. And the colors on your swatch are important, especially if you want to do a gradient. So let's say So to do a gradient, you can click on here. You can click on this icon, gradient. And what the gradient will do is that it will go from lighter to darker, or change from the color that you decide, change from a first color to a second color. And in order to change those colors, you double click on the slider, and from here you can automatically access your swatches. And so let's say I want the new color I created for my first swatch, and I wanted to have a gradient towards purple. And so from there you can create gradients. Change the opacity. And you can add as many sliders as you want, which means as many colors as you want. And so from there you can create a color gradient on Illustrator to fill in one of your shapes. And that can help you diagram the amount of light coming in or the amount of people coming in a room. You can also change the aesthetics of an image by clicking on the image, and next to image trace you'll find various options. And if you click on, for example, silhouettes, you will see that your image changed formats. And if you click on expand, and for right now this image is a single image, but if you click on expand, the elements of your image are separate, and you can click on the white arrow. If I double click on the image, that will bring me to an isolation mode, and from here I can move different pieces of the drawing by itself as its own entity. And you can double click to go back to normal mode. In order to export your document as a PDF, you can click on File, Save, or Save As, and from there you'll be able to save it as a PDF. However, you can also save your image as a JPEG, a PNG, a TIFF, and many more by clicking File, Export, and from there you have different options. You can even export it into a DWG in order to put it in AutoCAD or Rhino. You can change the quality. And for example, if I decide to change the position of this dancer, if I save this file, if I simply save this file, it will update the state file, and if I'm working on InDesign at the same time, that will update my file on InDesign as well. If this image were to be located in my InDesign template. The most useful thing about Illustrator, however, is controlling the line weights. When doing an architectural drawing, your biggest line weight should be 1 or 1.5, and your smallest line weight should be around 0.1. And you can change that line weight over here, and you'll see it will get thicker as the number goes up.